Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a very important guide video on Path of Exile, one of the permanent reward that you can be getting in the game before you arrive into the endgame. And if you have gotten this one, it's okay, we discuss the potential of making this work for you. But if you haven't gotten this one, I really do recommend understanding what you're getting, and there can be some massive mistakes you can make and not being able to min and max for better stats in the endgame if you pick the wrong ones. So coming over to this max roll guide, what's been happening is in Act 3 and also Act 3 Crow difficulty, there are permanent buffs that at the moment it cannot be changed in the game of Path of Exile 2. So once you find the Venom Draught, which I'll have the video to show you guys where and also how to find it on the next part. Once you find this particular item, you turn it into the NPCs, he will allow you to have a permanent buff on your character. This is per character you make, and those buffs can be quite amazing because those actually represent 1 to 2 of the skill passive effectiveness point. So basically those points are something that is quite amazing and quite important. It represents one of those bigger points. So if you were to pick those, I'm sure some of you might have picked the first one already in Act 3, and I don't think this will matter as much compared to Act 3 Crow difficulty. But both of those are set on max roll to be a permanent buff, and we cannot change this in the future. Now this was not the case in Path of Exile 1. If you have a look at some of the other comments and also posts on Path of Exile 1, those permanent buffs can be changed with a very expensive use of currency and also by using a recipe. At the moment, there's no such a thing in Path of Exile 2. So for new players that is playing the game, this is the only thing that you cannot change. There are buffs in the game that you can easily adjust at any moment for those additional adjustments. But there are 2 buffs that is in the game that once you get it, that's it. You pick one out of 3, and if you pick the wrong ones, this can affect your build in the late game. And you might be saying, hey Matt, 25% mana regen or stun threshold is not a big deal. Or you might be saying, it's only 5 all stats or 10 chaos resistance. But picking the wrong one means your endgame gears against those really strong bosses and also big fights that you only have one chance to beat the boss might just get that much harder. And I don't want you guys to miss out and also feeling that you don't have the right build. So now that you understand the importance of these potential mistakes, let's have a look at the options. So I won't say I'm the expert of picking those options because for different class, they will pick different options. For me, as an Infernalist that is using Mind Over Matter, I think it was the super safe option to pick the 25% mana regen. And even though at the time, I did not know this was a permanent buff and this cannot be changed. So for the first one, doesn't really matter what you guys pick, but I think most of you would have picked mana regen, and I think this is probably the safest way to go. Now coming over to Act 3 with the bigger ones. So there are 3 options, and most of us probably won't be picking the slow potency, but there may be content in the future that you might want to avoid the slow potency, or you can become immune to slow. Now the bigger choice is actually 5 to all stats. This is actually pretty big because if you look at 5 to all stats, I now have such a stat cap that I'm actually short on strength and also dexterity that I cannot use some of my gems. So having additional stat usually is never wrong. But how about chaos resistance? So when would you need chaos resistance? For classes that can mitigate damage from physical damage to chaos damage, having chaos resistance will make us really tanky. And this is essential for certain classes. And most of the endgame you can see, I have been building my chaos resistance and I only have 30%. I can get up to 70 or even higher chaos, and this will make me really durable. And for new players that is not aware of Path of Exile 1 with certain special passive nodes, let's have a look at this particular screenshot of a Chinese player's build for Path of Exile 2. He is also an Infernalist, and you can see that he now currently has only 1 life but over 3700 energy shield. So there are Path of Exile build that can have a special build even for the Infernalist to go for this particular node. And this is going to be a big node that provides you with unlimited chaos resistance because you'll become immune to chaos damage. So what that means is that if you actually pick the wrong one, let's say if you think chaos resistance will be good for any build, because usually we want max resist, right? So if you pick the chaos resistance now, but it just happen to be your sources build or your summoners build, your infernalist, your blood mage build, all of a sudden you take this particular node, then your chaos resistance you have taken will become useless because you're already immune to chaos resistance. And you can see players in the endgame are building something similar, and this is usually a very popular way for players to mitigate chaos damage without having to have chaos resistance on any of the gears, so they can free up for better stats and also for other gears. Of course, the downside is that this way they can be killed once they lose the energy shield. So now coming back to the bigger question, which one should you pick? Well, I have to be honest with you guys, I do not know which one is the best for your build. Even for myself, I'm not sure if I will go to the chaos resistance side and just have no chaos damage, and I just put life as 1. But maybe I want all stat, so right now I have not even decided myself. So what I recommend is, once you have completed this quest, talk to the NPC so they get rid of the quest item in your inventory, and then just leave the quest as it is. And this way, once in the late game, once you get to level 90, level 95, if you want to perfect your stats, and then you can decide whether you want to become immune to chaos resistance. If you needed that perfect +5 all stat, then you can make the decision. So this is a big thing for most of the players, and I don't want you guys to miss out. So as a final summary for this particular part, I'll recommend to complete this quest, but consider delaying picking the options. Right now those buffs will be good, but they're not game changing. But in the end game, a stat like this can be a game changer if you're just missing 10% chaos, or if you're missing a little bit all stat. And those can be the difference between 100 to even 1000 exalt for a perfect min and max gears. And a lot of PoE 1 players will know this. So it is important for you guys to understand if you're coming new to Path of Exile 2. Now before we finish the video, I also want to make a small guide and also reminder for you guys. So I have gotten to the end game. Let me show you guys over here. Yes, you can see that I have gotten to the end game, right? So now the question for the end game is, how do you teleport to the end game zone? And this is actually a question I have for myself. So for those of you that has made to the end game and you're going back to collect all the stats, I do have a video to teach you how to collect all the permanent stats. And this is coming from all the guide on max roll, but I show you guys step by step all the tips. So as I was collecting all the stats, I realized something. I actually did not know how to teleport to the end game. This sounds pretty funny, right? See, I keep teleporting around, so it can be very simple for those of you that knows this, but for me that just arrived to the end game, to teleport to the end game town is actually this one. So what we want to do is coming over to Zagharat Refuge. So if you keep teleporting back to the Act 3 town, it does not work and you get stuck there. Now, you want to teleport to this town so you can go to the end game. This might seem simple, but it took me over 5 minutes. And I was looking at Reddit posts and there's people who cannot find this as well. So this is a reminder and also a small tip for you guys. If you want to come to the end game, once you unlock the content, this is how you get to the end game. It is a little tricky, there's no reminders, it's over here, but if you click the endgame, everywhere you click over here with endgame, you can't click anything at the start of endgame. Now I promise I'll show you guys the quest I was talking about to pick the Venom. So here is the map of the quest. If you're coming over here, you're looking for the Venom, you want to go somewhere opposite of the entrance, and usually it's a big loop. Notice how big the map is I was looping, and once you get out of there, you'll get the Venom. You want to hand this over to the NPC, and then the NPC will take it, but you don't have to pick the choice. Look at this map, and you guys do want to see this map. This will save you over 5 or 10 minutes if you understand this map. So it's quite important to understand this map if you are doing this quest for Act 3 and also Act 6. And just to help you guys understand a little bit, I'll attach this little part of the replay to just show you where you're going and what's happening, so you don't get lost and you don't waste time on this quest. Now, before we finish, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so because I'll be looking into the latest Path of Exile 2 news on different communities and also on our official forum, official webpage. I'll also be looking into the best build for each of the class as the meta develops with the Chinese and also the English community. So stay tuned for the latest update and also guides for Path of Exile 2. And of course, this is going to be a big month for us. And I'll try to bring you guys all of the latest content and also guides for Path of Exile 2 to come.